Welcome viewers to Historical Journeys. The guide is confidential and just a little group of researchers are permitted to concentrate on it. All things considered, assuming everything that they have been said is valid, this report could change history. Then at last they reported their discoveries to the world, igniting a discussion that has just at last been tackled after over 50 years. Specialists have at last affirmed reality with regards to scandalous Viking Guide of America. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It only takes a second, and you won't miss any of our future videos. Let's get started. Back in 1965, delegates from Yale College uncovered that shocking find: a guide of the North American coast, clearly drawn a long time before Columbus made his pivotal journey. Was this proof that different developments had arrived at the district well before the traveler even set forth? For a really long time, scholastics and beginners the same have discussed the peculiar instance of the supposed Vinland map. To total, it was verification that the Vikings were the main Europeans in America, getting the best of Columbus by 50 years or more. However, to other people, it was just an imitation, maybe made to help the standing in the bank equilibrium of a striving country. Utilizing the most recent innovation, they concentrated on every last bit of the Vinland map, taking a gander at the ink used to make the questionable picture. The famous story is that in August 1492, Columbus cruised across the Atlantic looking for new grounds. Then 2 months after the fact, he arrived in the Bahamas, launching another time ever, and the start of the end for the native lifestyle. Indeed, even today, many individuals allude to these occasions as the revelation of North America, regardless of the way that there were native networks blossoming with them at that point. As a matter of fact, there's proof to recommend Columbus wasn't even the principal individual from Europe to come to these remote. So in the event that Columbus wasn't a trailblazer who was, well, in Old Norse narratives, there are references to a district known as Vinland, accepted to be found someplace in North America. For quite a long time, it was guessed that Vinland was found someplace on America's east coast. Their reports guarantee they were shown a progression of hills that the occupants alluded to as an old Indian camp. However, this was no Indian camp. After looking into it further, the archaeologists reached the resolution that the hills were really the remaining parts of a Norse settlement, the main checked one of its sort in North America. Finally, there was proof to demonstrate what many had long thought, that the Vikings, not Columbus, were the main Europeans to cross the Atlantic. In any case, as the world acclimated to this news, another stunning story was creating in the background. In 1957, an odd guide had started coursing in specific circles, gathered along with a middle-age record called the Tartar Connection. It seemed to date from the 1500 years. Its substance was everything except unessential, granted drawn on obviously old material. The guide shows different locales of the world, including Asia, Europe, and Africa. This district was, by the actual record, originally investigated by 11th century Europeans. This guide then, at that point, probably appeared among the most convincing bits of proof to help the hypothesis of Vinland and the Viking wayfarers. However, was there more to the peculiar archive than met the eye? All along, there were some who questioned the realness of what became known as the Vinland map. All things considered, the wormholes in the material didn't give off an impression of being in the very puts as in the duplicate of the Tartar Connection that recommended the two had been bound together sometime in the future. In any case, all things being equal, the report and its going with map were gobbled up by a cell. Furthermore, obviously the wormholes in the volume recommended that the Tartar Connection and the Vinland map had all at first been bound together. Persuaded that the Vinland map deserved further review, Giver and Yale graduate Paul Mellon bought the report and gave it to his Institute of Matriculation, and on October 11, 1965, so not long before Columbus Day, the revelation was at last unveiled. Furthermore, the Vinland map appeared exclusively to fortify the contention that the Vikings truly had arrived at North America. In the 1100 years, however, it wasn't well before certain scholastics started to cause qualms about the credibility of the report. One of the issues, it appears, was the way the Vinland map portrayed the state of Greenland. Thinking back to the 100 years, when the record was purportedly ordered, the district was regularly displayed as a promontory instead of the island we realize that it generally will be today. Greenland is so near the genuine Greenland, it's difficult to accept anybody in the medieval times would have drawn a guide like that, nor concentrates on Master Gisli Sigurdsson, told the New York Times in September 2021. Fundamentally, the Vikings were not precisely known for making maps. All things considered, The Norse voyagers are accepted to have explored utilizing information that was given over to ages. Truth be told, the Vinland map, if genuine, would be the main confirmed illustration of such a Viking time report. How then, at that point, might these unpracticed map makers who at any point have made something so marvelously definite over the long run? A few researchers likewise brought up that the materials used to make the guide were acting surprisingly. Clearly, the ink was crumbling in a way not found in some other Middle Age reports today. Then, in 1972, compound examination uncovered something surprising. These tests proposed that the ink contained a variant of titanium dioxide. They concentrated on the material and reasoned that titanium dioxide was just present in tiny sums. At the end of the day, there was nothing concrete to recommend that the archive was made utilizing 20th century ink. As the years passed, various researchers stood up both for and against a baffling Vinland map. Kirsten Seaver, a beginner history specialist, even guaranteed that the record was produced by a German man in a purposeful endeavor to affront the decision Nazi party. However, no authoritative ends were at any point reached as of not long ago. So what's the genuine story behind the Vinland map? Scientists at Yale have gotten back to the guide outfitted with present-day scientific innovation, and they at last arrive at a surprising resolution. Then, at that point, September 2021, Yale made an announcement and accepted up and down that the Vinland map is a falsification. It's everything down to crafted by Paul Ayotz and Marie-France Lemay to scholastics who spent significant time in old texts. Already, Yale had just conceded restricted contact with the Vinland map. This group, however, were given constantly. They expected to examine the report and talk with individuals very much familiar in its set of experiences. Furthermore, as well as the disputable text itself, they were additionally ready to analyze the going with duplicates of the Tartar connection and speculum mystorial. By taking a gander at the wormhole designs, the experts had the option to reason that the Vinland map had at first been bound along with speculum mystorial, and because of prior radiocarbon dating, they definitely realized that the duplicates of both speculum mystorial and the Tartar connection were certifiable 15th century relics beforehand. Scientists have likewise directed radiocarbon dating on the actual guide, and it likewise seemed to come from a similar time. However, the group realized that the age of the material didn't be guaranteed to ensure the age of the ink. For a really long time, specialists have utilized this method to take a gander at the cosmetics of three-layered objects. However, the capacity to apply it to two-layered surfaces is a generally new turn of events. In the proclamation from Yale, the Specialized Examinations Research Centers and EcoBezer made sense of how this headway gave us the most profound knowledge at this point into the Vinland map. We're not singling out individual focuses. We're offering the higher perspective. Also, this 10,000-foot view, it turns out, pointed predominantly towards extortion. As indicated by the Yale explanation, Middle Age texts were generally made utilizing iron goling. This was a substance containing iron sulfate and squashed up nerve nuts. However, the SRF examination uncovered that these components were scarcely perceptible in the Vinland map. Also, the group found some barium, proposing that the ink was one of the early titanium colors delivered during the 1920s. Be that as it may, just certainly, the analysts researched the components present in around 50 certified Middle Age original copies. Similarly, as they had thought, the group saw as less titanium and more iron in every one of the original copies. By that point, the end was clear. The Vinland map was made in the 20th years. Obviously, it's conceivable that the maker of the Vinland map didn't expect to hoodwink anybody. However, as per the Yale articulation, the group found proof that this was not the situation. On the rear of the guide, specialists uncovered an apparently credible engraving written in Latin. In any case, the iron nerve ink had been composed over more as of late to make maybe the Vinland map had forever been bound close by the genuine original copy. I feel that as areas of strength for really of a rationale to hoodwink to make the guide seem to be something it isn't. Richard Hart, a preservation master at Yale, made sense of in the explanation. However, assuming the report that has separated the world for quite a long time is a purposeful fabrication, then who was behind it? It's utilized to sabotage native first countries' history and is attached with the sort of hardliner patriot historiography that creates in Europe. Furthermore, the College of Cambridge's Elizabeth Ashman Rowe, who spends significant time in Scandinavian history, concurs. As per her, the guide might have been made by somebody with a craving to upgrade the global significance of Viking Age, takes advantage of when Norway was quite possibly of the most ruined country in Europe. In the proclamation, Yale caretaker Raymond Clemens made sense of items like the Vinland map absorb a great deal of scholarly airspace. There are such countless tomfoolery and captivating things that we should look at that can really enlighten us something concerning investigation and travel in the Middle Age world. Indeed, as per the assertion, the archive will not be leaving Yale at any point in the near future. Clemens proceeded, "The guide has turned into a verifiable item all by itself. An extraordinary illustration of a fraud had a worldwide effect. Furthermore, it's a fundamental piece of the speculum historial, which is a truly entrancing composition." Thanks for watching. If you want to stay updated with our latest videos, subscribing is the way to go. Just click that red button below and become a part of our channel family.